Hello and welcome to a Lakers Theory podcast. I am Shane Jackson, joined as always with me is Austin Case. We are back to do a show about the Los Angeles Lakers for the first time since probably the last time they were above 500, because I believe it was mid-December is the last time they were above 500, and that's about when our last show was. The Lakers are officially 20-19. We're recording this on Wednesday, January 5th. They did just beat the Kings last night. We were going to wait and just do a podcast on Friday against the Hawks and wait for them to beat, a decent team and not a crappy team and actually have real analysis. But Austin ruined that plan as of today. He remembered that he had a half marathon on Saturday morning and will be going to bed early and not watching the game on Friday. So really, this is a chance to say good luck to Austin with his half marathon. But how are you feeling, Austin? How do you think you're going to do? Tell people kind of what you did the first time around.
So the first half marathon, it was 2 hours and 2 minutes. So I'm going for under 2 hours. So my thought is, if I get 1 hour, 59 minutes and 59 seconds, that's a win.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just shooting for under 2 hours. I don't know. I fell out of my training regime. Again, this happened the first training. So I guess I'm used to that, but we'll see. I want to get out and run, but it is freaking cold here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is cold, and I don't want to get out in it. So I'm just gonna kind of wing it, not really wing it, but I'm not in bad shape, but I'm not in top shape. So I'm kind of in the middle, but I feel good. I'm confident. I was reading something that, like, the big thing they were saying was, like, it's mental. Like, after a certain period of time that you've been running this, it becomes, mental. Like, you have to stay in it mentally and stuff. So that's my plan. The 10, 11, and 12 mile mark, I think that's where I really struggled that first go around. So I know what to expect there, and I know what I need to do to overcome it. So I think it's possible for under 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean that's the key, that you know you've done it and can do it, and so I think that helps go this time around. Doesn't help that it's super cold. That was
No.
gonna be my question. What is the temperature for race day? Have you looked it up?
So race day, it's actually supposed to be like just over 50. So it's gonna be really nice, actually. If they hadn't canceled because of weather on, January 1st, it was going to be like 20 some degrees. And I was prepared to run in that. I think I would have been okay, just because it would have been cooler and I never really would have gotten too hot. But yeah, I think 50 degrees might be perfect. So I hope it stays that way. Because I really think cooler weather is very easy for me to run in. 13 miles, that's to be determined, but 50 degrees in general is a good running weather for myself.
Well, I'm rooting for you. I believe in you. We won't do a podcast Friday night because of that, but I am guaranteeing to the listeners that we are going to record on Sunday, no matter what happens, win or loss. And even if Austin doesn't finish under 2 hours on his half marathon, we are still recording on Sunday. That is my promise to anybody listening to this show, because I know we haven't been as regular as we wanted to, but now it's new year, new us. We're ready to go. This is it. And luckily for us, the Lakers seem to be a better version of themselves, or a newer version of themselves as well. That's where I want to start. This is kind of more of a big picture sense of view of the Lakers, the last few weeks, because we haven't talked since then. But I mean, the Lakers have won 3 in a row. As I mentioned, they're 20-19. It's the first time they're above 500 since December 19th. The 3-game win streak also matches their longest win streak of the year. And so, I don't know. They're not exactly beating great teams by any means. But I think my question to you is, have you noticed enough over the last few weeks to say that, hey, the Lakers are maybe trending in the right direction?
Yeah, I feel like they're getting better. They are trending upwards, in my opinion. I I have a hard time saying as a team in general. I don't know if they're getting that much better, but there are a handful of players. Monk, LeBron, uh, Melo. Like there are guys that outside of LeBron, because he always shows up.
Mhm.
Monk is starting to figure out what he needs to do to be successful on this team. That's going to be a huge key moving forward. Um, Melo, Melo's going to do Melo. Like I feel confident in his consistency, but definitely like for this team to really reach their goal of a championship, more guys are going to have to kind of step up and be consistent. Um, like THT last night, where is it?
He scored 19, I believe, right?
Yeah, 19, 4, and 6.
Mhm.
I think that's what the Lakers expected him on a nightly basis to do when they re-signed him. So if he can keep that up, I would say he's probably still on this team at the end of the year. But yeah, for them to be successful and reach their goal to be champions, a few more guys are going to have to step up and be consistent and provide for this team. But also, we're still waiting for a couple of guys to be back. Kendrick Nunn, I think that might be it. A big
Well,
contributor
Anthony
that
Davis, obviously.
Anthony Davis
Yeah.
too. But so as far as that, those two guys. Like Kendrick Nunn, yeah, we have no idea what he's going to look like on this team. So that's going to be a big thing. I look forward to watching Kendrick Nunn play on this team. I think he's going to provide something that we don't know we need. Um, and I think Stanley Johnson, like I think he provides that. Like we lacked what he does so bad that he just pops out and he's amazing on the court. Yeah, he's got flaws, but who doesn't? But um, like that's just what the Lakers need, guys that want to play and are hungry,
Mhm.
and just leave it all on the floor. Like that's what they need. And Stanley Johnson, for one, he kind of provides that because essentially he's auditioning still, because I think I saw that they just signed him to a second
Mhm.
10-day contract. So, he's got 10 more days to prove that he belongs on this team for the rest of the season. So, um, I, I think things are starting to click for certain key players, and we just need for a couple guys to get back and all that stuff to really see if this team can be as successful as we want them to be.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great thoughts there, a lot to unpack, but I think that was the point of what I was trying to frame the question as. Like, I, when the season started, right, we were looking at this team as a title contender, right,
Mhm,
and quickly we realized, hey, that maybe they might not live up to those expectations. And honestly, it got pretty low at one point in the season. But I think over the last few weeks, I have felt differently about this team than maybe I did around Thanksgiving break.
mhm,
Um, and so I think that's why I tried to frame the question that way, because I don't know what this means in the grand scheme of things. I don't know if this means, hey, the Lakers are trending in the right direction and they can eventually become a contender again. No, what I was trying to look at it as is I think there are steps that this team has taken over the last few weeks. And as you mentioned, it's really notably in a few key players
mhm,
that have at least given some optimism to be like, okay, like I can see things. Like, honestly, a lot of this boils down to, and I don't want to make a whole lot of excuses, but the Lakers have had really bad luck, injury luck wise, the last couple of years, right? And we
mhm,
haven't really seen this roster completely together. And even when it was starting to, Anthony Davis goes down, right? And he's still obviously sidelined as well. And then there's also the element of, hey, Frank Vogel, when this year started, he was like, okay, we're gonna do things my way, and this is what worked a couple of years ago when we won a title. So let's piece this team together. And the
mhm,
reality is, and anybody who knew basketball was like, that wasn't going to work with this version of the Lakers. This is a team that has to be elite offensively and just be above average defensively to be the
mhm,
best version of themselves. And I think you have seen Frank Vogel almost accept that fact, I think, over the last few weeks, notably with LeBron playing more at the center and opening up some of those driving lanes for guys like Russell Westbrook. He's realizing that the pieces that he was given with this roster just wasn't going to work from what his system was. And credit to him over the last couple weeks for adapting. Now the question is, when Anthony Davis returns, when this roster is at full health, is he still going to be committed? I think that remains to be seen. I will say that I am a little optimistic that he will, because a couple of games ago against the Timberwolves, right, the Lakers are getting bullied inside by Reed, and he just doesn't play Dwight Howard. He's like, no, we're going to play small. This is who we are now. And I think that's credit to him. I think that's him showing that he realizes that with this pieces, he can't do what he has done in the past. And there's going to have to be new ways for this team to win. And we're seeing it maybe against lesser competition, but I think it's working. And that should give Lakers fans some hope, I think. Now, the whole entire what's next and goals and steps like that comes to how it all works when Anthony Davis gets here, and can they do it against good teams, and can they maintain the momentum? And all those are questions that still need to be answered. But when we're just looking at the last couple of weeks, it's different from that window, that time frame of the season, than it has been the rest of the season.
So just thinking that LeBron at the 5, when AD comes back, do you throw a lineup out there where AD is playing the 4 and LeBron's at the 5?
I don't think so.
I guess I don't think it would necessarily work that way, because if the opponent has a big, AD's going to be on that guy. But I guess I'm curious to see who else would be out there with LeBron and AD as the typical bigs, the 4 and 5. I like Trevor Ariza in the lineup. I feel like he's still getting his feet under him with this team and everything, and really getting into game shape, because he came back, he played 1, maybe 2 games, and then he was out for a spell. But there's some things this team can do that I think could be beneficial. So yeah, they need to get everybody healthy, and hopefully they can stay healthy and kind of turn their luck around from that aspect, because I think it could be a good thing, obviously. But there are some lineups that I'm curious to see how they would do together. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I would love to see Melo start a game, at the 3 or 4. It doesn't matter. Toss LeBron at the 3 or 4. They can kind of guard the same position. LeBron's a little stronger, so he would probably be at the 4 spot. But there's some things they could mix it up with that I think could work.
And I think I want to be clear. I think you can tell by maybe our tone, at least, that even if we've liked what we've seen the last few weeks, it's not like we're rushing to say, hey, the Lakers are winning the title, right? Like, you can tell by we're still being somewhat realistic in the tone that we're using this, right? And I think that's ultimately what's going on here. I think if the Lakers hadn't started so bad, maybe this stretch here, we would be more hopeful from it. I don't think they're getting the benefit of the doubt that things might be trending in the right direction because of just how bad it was for the first few months. I mean, there's even during that 5-game losing streak in December, like, you can see that they're running more sets. They're having more purpose with their offense. Like, they're just doing the little things more that you weren't seeing when this season first started, the first couple of months. And it was just a lot of, hey, ISO or post ISO with AD, and really just like, hey, we're going to try to beat you with our stars. And it wasn't like trying to, find edges and run any sort of, type of offense. Whereas now I think you're seeing that a lot more consistently, notably at the end of the Kings game, right? LeBron and Malik Monk playing that 2-man game down the stretch. I think the Lakers were down 1 with like 5 minutes to go, and they scored on 8 straight possessions, a lot of them from that 2-man action. And then you saw like one play on the weak side that ended with Russell in the dunker spot. So like that kind of small stuff is more noticeable over the last 8 or 9 games with the Lakers. It's somewhat coincided with, hey, AD hasn't been here, and so maybe you're limiting. You're eliminating 20 shots per game, maybe 11, 12, 13 of those are in post ISOs. Like, maybe that's part of it as well. Maybe it's Frank Vogel He had to step away because of COVID, and so maybe he didn't have full control of the offense. I mean, there are a lot of other factors at play. I'm choosing to believe that it was, hey, a collective effort realizing that what the Lakers had done the first couple of months just wasn't going to cut it. And if the Lakers want to eventually get into maybe that frisky status and maybe that contender status, then they were going to have to play a lot differently. And I think the way that this team is going to win again, I think they have to be an elite offense and they have to get by on the defense. And, a few guys in particular are going to help them get by. LeBron has carried a lot of the weight recently on that end. Stanley Johnson with his length, as you mentioned, he's come in and right away he's made an impact on that end of the floor. And AD in the first couple of months of the season carried basically the entire load on the defensive end. So a few guys are going to step up because of the way this roster is constructed to, be passable. But I think the way they're going to win is by running any semblance of offense and being elite on that end and just outscoring everybody. Who is outscoring people is LeBron James. So let's get into him. We've waited kind of long enough to talk about him. He is on an unreal heater. He has been the leading scorer in 9 straight games. And 8 of those last 9 games, he scored 30 or more points. At one point last night, I texted you that LeBron's heater is over, and then he proceeded to hit like 3 threes in the next 3 minutes. He has been unreal. And honestly, it's we've now been doing this podcast. I think this is the full year of doing this. And, we've gone on here and been like, LeBron's unreal. It's crazy. Like, we can't take him for granted, all that stuff. But right now, what this stretch has been is just indescribable. Like, it's amazing what he is doing. Again, at 37 years old, like AD goes down and the Lakers and LeBron's just like, all right, I'll carry everybody. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised because we saw stretches of that last year, or an extended stretch of that last year. But the way he's doing it, there was much made at the start of the year about how he wasn't getting to the rim, right? And he was settling for a lot of jumpers, and he's still, shooting well. But you can see his rim rate is getting higher over the last few weeks. Like, you can see he's making an emphasis, and it feels like, he's getting in a rhythm here and getting in a group of things, and maybe some comments about maybe his decline was premature from earlier in the year. And I don't know. It's even if the Lakers were incredibly bad and a mess completely, I think LeBron alone would be worth watching them every single night because he's been amazing.
Yeah. Dang. I lost my train of thought.
It's all good. I mean, being at the center has helped with this, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
I got it.
Yeah. Okay. You got it. Okay.
Yeah. No, but at the beginning of the year, like he picked up that ankle sprain really early, and he was trying to play through it, and that's kind of when all the talk, have we seen the best of LeBron? Like, is this gonna be he's gonna start the downfall? He just was not healthy. It's so clear watching him play now that he just wasn't. Like, that ankle was a problem. It was restricting his play. And so now we're seeing a healthy LeBron. He's got to exert himself a lot more because AD is gone. So he's got to do a lot more. But he could do that with AD on the floor. I just think he chooses not to because he knows that he's got AD, and AD, they're gonna have each other's backs. They're not gonna let the other just completely exhaust themselves. So I want to see LeBron keep this up with AD. I think just them two together with strong role players, they win a championship. Like, it's just that simple. So LeBron just needs to be 80% of what he's doing with a healthy and strong AD, and this team will be good. So I love the way LeBron's playing. I agreed with you that I thought he cooled off because he could not find the outside shot to save his life that entire game. And right when you said I think the heater's done, he heard that. He that something told him that you said that to me, and it completely changed the game for him. Um, but yeah, LeBron is good still at 37 years old. He is this good. I if he can stay on the floor, I how can you not give him the MVP? I just don't see how you cannot give it to him.
Well, you're seeing the NFL version of this, right?
Yeah.
Tom Brady at 44 years old is leading the league in touchdown passes, big time throws, and he's probably not going to win the MVP. So like you're seeing this in the NFL version as well. It's not just hey, old guy still dominating.
Mhm.
But no, so it comes down to like wins, right? And if the Lakers aren't top 4 seed, he's not going to win. But he is like
Mhm.
up there already, top 5, top 6 in win shares already among players. I mean, he's inserted himself in this conversation. It feels, I mean,
Mhm.
Steph is right now the favorite. He's deservedly so. There's a few other players that feel like they're in the mix as well, but LeBron is definitely one of those guys.
Mhm.
And I think what I've enjoyed most is just how much fun it feels like he's having as of late. Like last night, talking a little crap to the Kings bench. I mean, it's the Kings. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel like he has to try a whole lot in this type of game, but he had a lot of energy and swagger to him down the stretch that I have very much enjoyed.
Mhm.
And I think there is some truth to at times where LeBron realizing, hey, I'm not going to do this forever. Like let's enjoy the moment here. And sometimes his son reminds him of that, right? The
Mhm.
joy of basketball. He's mentioned that before as well. So I just think you see a different, energized LeBron at times, and that to me has been incredibly fun to watch. Again, if the Lakers were bad, I think he alone would be fun enough to watch. But luckily, I think they're putting it together as well.
Mhm.
Um, and LeBron's a big part of that. So I do think he's now in the MVP conversation. I don't know if he's going to win it, but he's definitely. I mean, you're going to have to give him a hard look if he keeps this up, and the Lakers end up finishing pretty high in the West. Which who knows at this point.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Let's close this out with maybe some roster stuff. You mentioned Stanley Johnson earlier. He signed his second 10-day contract. He couldn't play against the Kings last night because they're trying to weasel an additional roster spot right now,
Mhm.
right? They want to keep a potential open roster spot. It's very weird how this has all worked out. But you're our designated roster guy, so tell me real quick kind of what's going down.
So the Rondo move, I at first they were gonna bring back Denzel Valentine.
Hmm.
I think the idea was they were just gonna cut him and eat his guaranteed salary. The Knicks decided to jump in and take him. So yeah, I think the Lakers just now get a trade exception. It's not going to be much. It might not make a huge difference, but it could come in handy. So as of now, they do have an open roster spot, and I would think the idea is that once Stanley Johnson's second 10-day contract is up, I I would see that he stays with the team just from what he's provided.
Oh yeah.
It might not be super great and outstanding, but I feel like he fills a void that they need desperately. So I I see him staying just a little bit that I've seen him play. I think he's a good fit and he's energetic, and I think that's something that they need, especially with some of the older bodies on the team. So I think he'll stay. Something else I think about is THT going to be on this team after January 15th? And I think January 15th is the day that he is eligible to be traded. Um, I don't know if he keeps playing like he did last night. Up until that point, I think they say this is what we wanted him to be, and he's finally filling out. So they hang on to him, or they say he's finally appealing to other teams, and they might ship him off. So I'm honestly on the fence. I like THT. I think he brings a good quality fit to the team. He he's just kind of a random, you know, facilitator in a way. He can create for himself, and he can kind of create for other people as well. Um, so I'm curious to see what they do there. And kind of honestly, probably not a surprise to you, but the last thing roster move I would want to see is the Lakers to move Russ.
Mhm.
I know last night I think he had 0 turnovers, which
0,
that
yeah.
should be celebrated.
Mhm. Congrats,
But
Russ,
he's not gonna have 0 turnovers,
ever again.
probably for the rest of the season. I would put money down on that. Um, and he does provide benefits to the team, I think, quite a bit. But for me, the mistakes outweigh those benefits just because they come at such crucial times. And
Mhm.
especially against the lesser opponents, I feel like that's when it really affects the team. Um, but I think it would be nearly impossible for them to move him. I it his salary is like 41 or 44 million, something like it. It's crazy high, one of the highest in the league. So I don't know if there's going to be a lot of teams that want to take on that salary. Me personally, I would try to attach THT to some deal, but that's 50 plus million, and that's a big swap. And I don't know if there's any teams out there that would want to do that, or they could do that. So um, I don't want to accept that he might be here for the next 2 years, but I refuse to lose all hope that they won't move him. So that's just kind of my point of view on some roster moves.
Mhm.
I would love Buddy to be on this team. I
We all
I
would.
stand by this team would not be flirting with 500 on a week to week basis if Buddy Hield was on this team.
Mhm.
Um, we'll never know if that's true, but um, I will take that thought to my grave.
Well, I think a lot of Lakers fans, probably including me, would agree with you. Don't I haven't? I mean, I've accepted Russ is going to be a Laker, and I do not have any hope that he's going to get moved. And I also am sad about it. And it's okay. This is a safe place. We can be sad together. Let's close this out. The Lakers play real teams this weekend. They play the Hawks on Friday and then the Grizzlies on Sunday. Both games are at home in the Crypto Center, right? Is that what it's called? Crypto Center? Yeah.
Crypto.com
.com Center. Yeah.
arena. Yeah.
Oh, arena. Okay.
It's
Whatever.
a
Same thing.
mouthful.
Yeah.
Staples Center. That just flows right off the tongue.
I still call it Staples Center, so it doesn't matter.
Let's change it to crypto.com. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm salty
Anyways,
about
that's
that
where we're
still.
going to play basketball. We won't pod again until Sunday, so we might as well give some quick predictions to close out this podcast. We've already been talking too long, but we are going to be back on Sunday. Austin, tell me, how are the Lakers going to do this weekend in 2 games? Split decision, 2-0, 0-2. What's your prediction?
Um, I think they'll go 1-1 over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they'll beat the Hawks. I just it doesn't look like the Hawks are off to a great start themselves, but I'm really unsure if the Lakers can beat them. And the reason I'm kind of going 1-1 for the weekend is they just have to beat the Grizzlies once this season.
Mm-hmm.
It just has to happen. This is I think it's the third time they're playing them. I don't know if they've played them. I know they've played them twice before. I don't know if
It's the
it's the third.
4th time. They did beat them on October 24th.
Oh, okay, got it. So
that was the first win of the year.
oh, okay. Shoot,
Yeah.
that was a while ago. So
Mm-hmm.
all right. Well, I'm sticking with my answer. The Grizzlies have had their number the past couple times. I think the Lakers got to figure it out and get a dub on Sunday.
Yes, I pretty much in agreement here. It's not surprising the team that's flirted with 500 all freaking year is going to just go 500 this weekend, 1-1. But I am like, if they go 0-2, it could be very scary again on Scary Sunday podcast. Whereas if they go 2-0, 5-game win streak, the longest win streak of the year, I may be ready to pop the champagne. Like it may be ready. It may be time.
I would be more confident they would make the playoffs.
Uh-huh.
The past few weeks, I was just in a dark place. They got 3 superstars on the team. They're not going to make the playoffs. So that's where my head was at. But I'm more confident they'll be in the playoffs now. Um, I don't think there's any way that they win a championship at this point in time
Yeah.
with the way
I
they
agree with you. Again, it's a long season. Like,
Mhm.
we may feel differently in March or April than we do in January. I certainly feel different January 5th than I did probably December 5th. So
Mhm.
that should give Lakers fans hope, I think. So what will give hope is that we're going to be back on Sunday, win or lose, talking about Lakers basketball again. And you'll get to see us on a regular basis moving forward because it's 2022 and the Lakers are better and we are better. So let's ride. He's Austin Case. I'm Shane Jackson. Thank you so much for listening to Lakers Theory Podcast and see you next time.